Nadia had prayed for this moment every night. She was 28 years old, a mother of faith, and now, finally, a mother. The pregnancy had been long, full of sleepless nights, soft whispers to the baby inside her, asking him to be strong, to be kind, to bring light into their lives. David held her hand as they entered the hospital. He kissed her forehead gently. "You're going to be amazing," he whispered. Nadia smiled faintly. "I just want him to be healthy." The contractions came stronger as the hours passed. Dr. Ahmed monitored closely, calm, experienced, steady. Maggie, the nurse, kept checking her vitals. Then it happened. The final push. A sharp cry filled the room, not from Nadia, but from someone else. The baby. Only it wasn't a cry. It was a word. Clear, soft, unmistakable. "I am here to remind you." Silence fell like a blanket over the room. David blinked. Dr. Ahmed froze. Maggie dropped her pen. Nadia gasped, tears filling her eyes. Not from pain, from certainty. That voice had come from her son, just seconds old, and already speaking, not babbling, not crying, but talking, as if he knew who he was, and why he had come. David looked at Nadia, heart pounding. "Did I just hear what I think I did?" Nadia nodded slowly. "Yes," she whispered. "Our son just spoke." And in that moment, everything changed. Because the world didn't know yet, but they had witnessed something beyond explanation, beyond science, beyond time. They had heard the first words, from a child born with a message. And somehow, they both knew, this was only the beginning. The moment stretched. No one moved. Dr. Ahmed stood frozen, hands still near the baby, as he wrapped him in a soft hospital blanket. Maggie stared at Nadia, eyes wide, lips slightly parted. David sat beside his wife, heart pounding like he had just seen something that shouldn't exist. Then Dr. Ahmed finally spoke. "Did anyone else hear that?" Maggie nodded slowly. "I did." Nadia looked down at her son, cradled in her arms now, eyes open, watching her like he already knew her. She whispered, "What did he mean?" David swallowed hard. "We don't even know if it was real," he admitted. But deep inside he knew it was, because no one could imagine something like that. Not together. Not all of them. Back home, the world felt different, like the air had changed. Nadia sat on the couch, holding Adam close. He didn't cry, just watched her face, watched the way David paced the room. Finally, David sat beside them. "You okay?" he asked softly. Nadia gave a small nod. Then she whispered, "He's not like other babies." David hesitated. "He's ours," he said gently. "That's what matters." Nadia met his gaze. "But what if there's more?" David looked at their son again. Then he whispered, "Do you think he came with a purpose?" Nadia traced Adam's cheek gently. "I do," she said, "and I think we're going to find out why." Over the next few days, Nadia replayed the moment in her mind. The nurse confirmed it. Dr. Ahmed wrote nothing about it in the records, but looked shaken when she left. One evening, Maggie visited. She sat across from Nadia and David. "I've delivered hundreds of babies," she said quietly, "but never one who spoke before crying." David exhaled slowly. "We keep thinking we imagined it," he admitted. "But then you heard it too." Maggie gave a small nod. "I did," she said, "and I still can't explain it." Nadia studied her carefully. "What do you believe happened?" Maggie thought for a long time. Then she whispered, "I think your son came with something more than breath." David frowned slightly. "Something like what?" Maggie met Nadia's eyes. "A message." Silence filled the room. Then Nadia whispered, "That's what I think too." And somehow saying it out loud made it feel true. Because this wasn't just a miracle. It was a sign. And they were only beginning to understand what it meant. Nadia couldn't stop thinking about it. Every time she looked at Adam, she felt like he was watching her back. Not with the curiosity of a newborn, but with something deeper. Understanding, peace, and maybe purpose. She whispered to him often, "Did you really speak?" she would ask. What did you mean? Adam never answered in full words again. But sometimes, when she recited surahs, his eyes lit up. His fingers curled gently around hers, like he recognized the verses. David tried to make sense of it all. He replayed the hospital video on his phone, the one Maggie had secretly recorded after the birth. It showed nothing unusual, just Nadia holding their son, Dr. Ahmed checking his vitals. Then came the sound, clear as day. I am here to remind you. David watched it over and over. Each time, the same question burned inside him. What if this wasn't just a child? What if this was something meant for them? One evening, David sat beside Nadia on the couch. He looked at her carefully. I keep thinking about what he said, he admitted. It doesn't make sense. But I can't forget it. Nadia met his gaze. I haven't stopped hearing it, she whispered. In my head, in my heart. David exhaled slowly. Do you think he's different? Nadia nodded. He came into this world already knowing us, she said. That's not normal. But it's real. David swallowed hard. And what if people don't believe us? Nadia gave a small smile. They don't have to, she said. We know what happened. And that's enough. David studied her face. Then he whispered, You're not scared. Nadia looked down at Adam. No, she said. I feel chosen. David blinked. Chosen for what? Nadia smiled faintly. To listen, she said. To remember. To carry whatever message he brought. David looked at their son again. Then he whispered, Maybe we both were. Because somehow, that moment in the delivery room changed more than just Nadia. Changed him too. Made him question everything he thought he knew. And made him wonder if faith was bigger than science. If truth could come from a voice so small. And if this baby was meant for more than they ever expected. Nadia began talking to Adam more, not just as a mother, but as someone who believed he could understand. She whispered prayers into his ear, recited surahs before bed, and sometimes when she asked him questions in soft tones, he answered, not with full sentences, but with sounds that felt meaningful. One night, after feeding him, Nadia held Adam close and asked, Did Allah send you here for something? Adam blinked slowly, then let out a small, gentle sound, almost like a whisper, like he was agreeing. Nadia's heart pounded. She looked at David, who sat nearby reading. He heard me, she said softly. David frowned slightly. What do you mean? Nadia met his eyes. I asked him if Allah sent him, she explained. And he responded. David hesitated. Then he asked gently, What did he say? Nadia gave a small smile. He didn't use words, but I felt it. In my chest. It was like he knew. David studied her carefully. Then he whispered, You really believe this, don't you? Nadia nodded. I do, she said. This isn't just a child. He came with something deeper. David didn't argue, because deep down, he believed it too. Over the next few weeks, their lives changed. Nadia spoke to Adam like he was listening because he always seemed to be. When she recited Surah Rahman, he smiled. When she whispered Ayat al-Kursi, he calmed instantly. It wasn't just coincidence. It was connection. One evening, while rocking Adam in the quiet of night, Nadia whispered again, What are you reminding me of? Adam stirred in her arms. Then he made a soft sound, almost like a word. Love. Nadia froze. She looked at David. You heard that, right? David raised an eyebrow. That sounded like love. Nadia swallowed hard. It is, she whispered. And maybe that's what he came for. David leaned closer. To remind us? He asked. Nadia nodded. To remind me, she said, that love doesn't fade. That faith matters. That even in pain, we can still find peace. David reached over and touched Adam's tiny hand. And how do we know this is real? Nadia met his gaze. Because he doesn't act like other babies, she said. He listens. He watches. He knows things. David stayed silent. Then he whispered, Maybe we're meant to listen back. The family started visiting the mosque more often. Imam Yusuf noticed how Nadia carried Adam differently, not just with love, but reverence. One afternoon, he pulled her aside. "You've been quiet lately," he observed. "Is everything okay?" Nadia hesitated, then took a deep breath. "There's something I need to tell you," she admitted. Imam Yusuf listened as she shared the moment from the delivery room. When she finished, he didn't laugh, didn't call her mistaken. Instead, he studied her face. Then he said, "Allah sends reminders in many ways." Nadia blinked. "You believe me?" Imam Yusuf gave a warm nod. "I believe you heard something," he said gently. "Whether it was your son or a message through him. Either way," he smiled faintly, "it means something." Nadia felt tears well up. Imam Yusuf added, "If he brings peace to your heart, then let him teach you." And somehow, those words made everything feel lighter, because now she wasn't alone in believing. She had someone who understood, who saw her story not as madness, but as faith. Weeks passed. Adam grew not just in size but in presence. He didn't cry often, didn't babble like other babies, but he watched and listened, and sometimes he spoke again, not loudly, not clearly, but enough for Nadia to hear. One night, as she rocked him beside the window, Adam stirred in her arms. She whispered softly, "I love you." Adam blinked slowly, then made a sound that sent chills through her body. "Remember." Nadia's breath caught. She looked at David, who sat nearby reading. "Did you hear that?" David raised an eyebrow. "What?" Nadia swallowed hard. "He said it again." David frowned, then leaned closer. "You sure?" Nadia nodded. "I know what I heard," she said. "And I know what he means." David stared at their son. Then he whispered, "What is he reminding us of?" Nadia met his eyes. "That we're not alone," she said. "That love doesn't fade. That even small voices carry meaning." David exhaled. Then he reached out and gently touched Adam's cheek. And somehow it felt like he was holding more than just a child. He was holding something sacred, a message wrapped in innocence, a voice born before words, and now repeating itself, again and again, as if waiting for them to understand. David couldn't stop thinking about it. The moment in the delivery room, the whisper that changed everything, the way Adam still watched them like he knew more than he should. He needed answers. So one afternoon, he took Adam to a child development specialist, someone who worked with early speech patterns in infants. "Is this normal?" David asked as they sat in the clinic. Dr. Farid studied him carefully. "What do you mean?" David hesitated, then whispered, "My son spoke the moment he was born." Dr. Farid blinked. "You're saying he formed real words?" David nodded slowly. He said, "I am here to remind you." Dr. Farid leaned back slightly. "That's unusual," he admitted. "Impossible by standard understanding of newborn development." David swallowed hard. "But you believe us?" Dr. Farid gave a small, thoughtful smile. "I don't disbelieve you," he said. "I just don't have an explanation." Back home, David played the recording again, the one Maggie had secretly made. Nadia sat beside him, watching his face closely. "You told the doctor," she said gently. David nodded. "And he didn't laugh," he added. "He just listened." Nadia looked at Adam, who lay between them on the bed. She reached for his tiny hand. "Maybe some things aren't meant to be explained," she whispered. David exhaled. "I used to think science could answer everything," he admitted. "But now," he looked at their son. "Now I wonder if faith has something to say too." Nadia met his eyes. "That's what he's teaching us," she said. "To question less, to listen more." David gave a small nod. Then he asked, "Do you ever feel scared?" Nadia tilted her head. "Of what?" David looked down at Adam. "That we don't understand what we're raising." Nadia smiled faintly. "I'm not afraid," she said, "because even if he's different," her voice softened, "he came from love, and that means he's safe." David let out a shaky breath. Then he whispered, "I want to believe that." Nadia reached for his hand. "You will," she said, "because every time he speaks." She looked at their son. "He reminds us of something bigger than fear." Weeks passed. David started writing down every word Adam said, or seemed to say. Sometimes it was just soft sounds. Other times it felt like he was forming meaning. One evening, while Nadia prayed, David sat alone with Adam. He held him close, heart to heart. Then he whispered, "What are you trying to tell me?" Adam blinked up at him. Then he made a sound. "Truth." David's chest tightened. He looked at Nadia when she finished praying. She raised an eyebrow. "What is it?" David looked at her, truly looked. "He just said truth," he whispered. Nadia studied his face. Then she smiled. "He's reminding you," she said gently. "That belief isn't always loud. It's quiet. It's presence. It's trust." David closed his eyes briefly. Then he whispered, "I'm starting to believe." And somehow that changed everything. Because now he wasn't just a father. He was a believer, a listener, a man standing before something he couldn't explain, but no longer afraid to accept. David was the first to tell someone outside the family. He didn't mean to, but one evening at work, a colleague asked how fatherhood was going. "It's different," David admitted. His friend frowned. "In what way?" David hesitated, then whispered, "Our son spoke the moment he was born." The room went quiet, not with laughter, not with disbelief, but with something else. Curiosity. Silence. Then came the question, "What did he say?" David swallowed hard. "He said, 'I am here to remind you.'" His friend blinked. Then he asked, "Are you serious?" David nodded slowly. "I thought I imagined it," he admitted. But Nadia heard it too. So did the nurse. And now, he looked down at his phone. "He says more sometimes." His friend studied him carefully. Then he whispered, "That sounds like something from faith." David gave a small smile. "That's what Nadia says." Nadia told her best friend, Layla, during tea one afternoon. Layla raised an eyebrow. "You're saying your baby talked when he was born?" Nadia met her eyes. "Yes," she said. "And not just once." Layla leaned forward. "Tell me everything." So Nadia did. About the delivery room. About the whisper. About the way Adam still responded to verses from the Quran. About the moments where he seemed to understand things no child should. Layla listened in silence. Then she whispered, "You think he's special?" Nadia nodded. "I know he is." Layla reached for her hand. "Maybe this is why you've been praying all these years," she said. "Because Allah had something greater for you." Nadia felt tears well up. She whispered, "What if we're meant to carry his message forward?" Layla gave a small nod. "Then listen," she said gently. "Really listen. Because sometimes truth comes in soft voices." And somehow that changed everything. Because now Nadia wasn't alone in believing. Someone else was listening too. Adam grew not like other children. He didn't babble, didn't mimic sounds, didn't cry for hours, but he watched. And when he did speak, it was never random, always meaningful. Sometimes when Nadia cried, missing her mother who had passed years before, Adam would stir in her arms, then whisper softly, "She hears you." Nadia's breath caught every time. David noticed too. One night, after a hard day at work, he sat on the couch, head in his hands. Adam crawled toward him, then whispered, "Don't be afraid." David looked down. His heart pounded, because somehow it felt like the boy understood him, understood his doubt, his fear, and was reminding him to believe again. Neighbors began noticing. At first, they thought it was just a loving mother reading too much into baby sounds. But then came moments that changed their minds. A neighbor named Mrs. Khan visited one afternoon. She had lost her son years ago and still carried the pain. As she held Adam gently, tears welled in her eyes. "I miss him," she whispered. Adam blinked up at her, then said softly, "He's with you." Mrs. Khan froze. She looked at Nadia. "You teach him this?" Nadia shook her head. No, she said. He says things I don't understand. But they always feel right. Mrs. Khan handed Adam back slowly. Then she whispered, I think I needed to hear that. And with that she left, quieter than she came, changed by something she couldn't explain. As the months passed, Adam's presence became harder to ignore, not just by his parents, but by everyone who spent time with him. He didn't speak often, but when he did, his words carried weight. One evening, Nadia sat beside her sister, Zara, and watched as Adam played quietly on the floor. Zara tilted her head. He doesn't act like other babies, she observed. Nadia gave a small smile. No, she whispered. He never has. Zara studied her carefully. Do you still believe he came with a message? Nadia nodded. I do, she said, and I think it's growing clearer every day. Zara hesitated, then asked, Have you told anyone else? Nadia met her eyes. The Imam knows. So does Dr. Ahmed. And now you. Zara reached for her hand. I'm not here to judge, she said gently, but I want to understand. Nadia looked at her son again. Then she whispered, So do I. David started recording everything. Every word. Every sound. Every moment where Adam seemed to know something before they said it. He kept the videos in a hidden folder, not for proof, but for remembrance. Because even if no one believed them, they had seen what he could do, and heard what he had said. One night, while reviewing footage, David noticed something strange. Adam wasn't just whispering random sounds. He responded to faith. Whenever Nadia recited Surah Fatiha, Adam smiled. When she read Ayat al-Kursi, he calmed instantly. And once, during a quiet moment of prayer, he whispered, Peace is near. David felt tears sting his eyes. He replayed it again, then again, and each time, the same truth settled deeper in his chest. This wasn't just a child. This was something meant to be, a reminder, a voice, a soul sent not just to live, but to teach. The story spread quietly, not through loud claims, but through whispers. Friends, neighbors, even strangers who came to visit Adam. And with it came doubt. Some called them liars. Others said Nadia was seeking attention. A few warned her that speaking like this could bring fitna. One afternoon, at the mosque, a woman pulled Nadia aside. You shouldn't say these things, she warned gently. People don't understand. They fear what they can't explain. Nadia looked down. I'm not saying it for show, she whispered. I'm saying it because it's true. The woman hesitated. Then she asked, What do you think he is? Nadia met her eyes. He's my son, she said firmly. But I also believe he came with purpose. The woman gave a small nod. Then be careful, she said, because people may not see him as a blessing. They might see him as something else. And she was right, because not everyone believed. Some called it madness. Others called it deception. But David and Nadia didn't stop. They kept listening. They kept loving. They kept believing. Back home, David noticed how even his co-workers had started treating him differently. One night, he sat beside Nadia on the couch. They think I've lost my mind, he admitted. Nadia tilted her head. What did you tell them? David swallowed hard. The truth, he said. That our son spoke before crying. That he knows things he shouldn't. That he brings peace when we're broken. Nadia reached for his hand. And what did they say? David exhaled slowly. Most laughed it off. Some told him to stop making up stories. One even said, You should take him to someone who really understands. Nadia frowned slightly. Understands what? David looked at their son, now playing with a soft blanket. That he's different, he said quietly. That he's not just a child. Nadia studied his face. Then she whispered, He never was. David nodded. I know. Imam Yusuf called them in one evening. He sat across from them, calm, but serious. I've heard the rumors, he said gently. Some people are afraid. They don't understand what happened. Nadia blinked back tears. We don't either, she admitted. But we know what we heard. Imam Yusuf gave a small nod. I believe you, he said, and I believe your son is special. But belief doesn't always quiet fear. He leaned forward. You must be wise, he added, because some hearts won't accept what they don't expect. Nadia met his gaze. What should we do? Imam Yusuf smiled faintly. Keep listening, he said. Keep learning. And let Allah guide those who question. Nadia closed her eyes briefly. Then she whispered, I just want him to be loved. Imam Yusuf gave a warm look. He is, he said. By Allah. By you. And by those who still have heart enough to hear. Years passed. Adam grew not just in age but in presence. He was 5 now, still quiet, still observant, still different, but not in a way that scared people anymore, in a way that touched them. One afternoon, Nadia sat with him at the mosque. Other children ran around, laughing, playing, shouting, but Adam stayed still, quietly watching. Then he turned to a woman who had been crying silently beside them. He reached out, gently touched her hand, and whispered, She's waiting for you. The woman froze, then tears spilled over. She looked at Nadia. He means my mother, she whispered. She passed last year. Nadia nodded slowly. I think he knows. And somehow the woman believed it, because when she left that day, she felt lighter, like something had seen her pain, and reminded her she wasn't alone. David started taking Adam to community gatherings, carefully, quietly. At first, people kept their distance. They remembered the stories. Some still doubted. But others, they came closer. A boy who lost his father stood beside Adam one evening. Tears filled his eyes. Adam looked at him, truly looked. Then he said softly, You're not forgotten. The boy blinked back tears. Then he whispered, How do you know? Adam didn't answer, just held his gaze, until the boy finally smiled, because somehow he understood that this child knew things no one else could. And maybe, just maybe, that made him meant to be here. Adam turned 10. He no longer whispered in the night, but his presence remained, and so did his message. One afternoon, Nadia sat beside him as he read from the Quran. Not aloud, just silently, with deep understanding. She reached for his hand. You still remember why you came? She whispered. Adam looked at her. Then he said softly, To remind. Nadia felt tears well up, because somehow he knew his purpose, even if he never explained it fully. David walked in and smiled at the sight. His son had grown into something neither of them could explain. Wise, calm, full of peace. Imam Yusuf had asked Adam to sit with him during lessons, not to speak, but to listen. And sometimes when people struggled with faith, they would turn to him, as if just being near brought clarity. One day, a man approached. I stopped praying after my wife passed, he admitted. Adam met his eyes. Then he whispered, Love doesn't end. It only changes form. The man blinked back tears. Then he whispered, Thank you, and walked away, not healed completely, but reminded of what mattered. This is more than a story about a baby who spoke at birth. It's about faith, about love that doesn't fade, about a voice that came quietly, but changed everything. Adam didn't just speak with words. He spoke with presence, with peace, with purpose, and through him, his family learned to believe again. May we all be reminded, in the quietest moments, that truth sometimes comes in the softest voices, that miracles don't always shout. Sometimes, they whisper.